You started?
Yeah.
Wow. Alright.
You're in a reverse order. Hi, I'm Lane.
Brandon.
Michael.
Cameron. What we were going to discuss today is Inc., which we just finished today as well.
Good choice. Good movie. I liked it.
Yeah, this was the cheap budget one, right?
Yeah.
For having a cheap budget though, I thought it was still like pretty.
It was done well, I thought.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you didn't tell us that, I would have thought it was a normal movie.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
maybe little things here and there, I would say, oh, they could have did that better. But it's like, yeah, for a low budget movie, that was one of the best ones I've seen.
And then the guy that played John, I've seen him in other movies too. So
He looked
he's
familiar.
definitely a decent
I looked him
actor.
up. He wasn't in the other movie.
Really?
I never saw him on IGN.
He looks familiar.
He does look really familiar.
So what were your guys' initial thoughts on the movie?
Definitely made you think kind of outside the box a little bit in a different way that you normally think about a movie. I mean, when you said cheap movie, I was expecting a lot of cheesy stuff that, would just make sense right away because they didn't know how to do it in a movie of that production. But as soon as you started watching it, you could really tell that that John, the main character, was struggling with something. And it didn't come full circle until basically the way end of the movie, and I didn't even really see that coming.
Yeah, it was different for sure.
This is a good movie to watch in class because it breaks it up and gives you time to think about each part of the movie.
Yeah.
Like after this, was it the second part? Me and you talked about this after class, and we were walking to the next class, and it's like you let me know like maybe he's actually the dad or
John, yeah.
and John, and that has something to do with the dreams.
So the only reason I thought that was, well, first they had kind of the same facial features, so I kind of just pieced it together by the voice and kind of look at the face, and then by looking at that, I'm like, okay, why is his future self coming back, or what is this thing if it's the same person? I never knew it until the end. Like how?
And the drums with the timeline changes. Is that what that was for them?
It was like
Actually,
it was like a Pathfinder thing.
It was like a portal.
Maybe it's like portals of time and space. Because if Ink is his future self, how do you go back and get his daughter, which is specifically what they wanted? Because if he killed his daughter, then he'd be guaranteed to take this path of like not getting in a car crash or whatever. He'd be guaranteed not to be able to. Change it like they did.
And kind of in the middle there when the storyteller came to say talk with the girl with the pink hat or whatever. I'm thinking this lady looks a lot like the daughter. Looks like her mother almost.
I thought it was his wife, right? I was like, she's being all nice and just keeping it on the DL right now.
And I'm like, yeah, like this is so weird. She looks alike, and then all of a sudden he's like, well, why does she matter so much to you or something? He says, and she just stayed quiet and didn't say anything. I'm like, that's her mother. It has to be.
It's either her mother or it could be her future self.
I didn't think that. I didn't even think future self right away.
Well, like he mentioned that after class today, that it could be, or I don't know if I mentioned it, but
You mentioned that it could be your mother, and then I'm like, or it could be her future self.
We seen her mother in like flashbacks and stuff, so it wasn't her mother.
Yeah.
we know people change and they go like, Eve changed because
That's
of how he died.
True.
And so maybe she changed a little bit by how she died. Because it doesn't really say how she died, does it? Or was it cancer or something?
She just died.
I think she was sick, would be my guess, because it doesn't really say. It doesn't get traumatic or anything.
Because then she was the one that was taking care of the daughter, so she cared more about the daughter, really. But then she knew if John died, or if she died, then that means John had to take care of the kid. So she wanted to try to save John to make sure she takes care of her daughter. But it's kind of two for one kind of thing. If she can save John, she can also save her daughter at the same time, because when John realized the daughter is important, not just job, money, whatever he needs, like trading or whatever it was.
That's where he was the existentialist, right? Or
What do you mean?
the philosophical point of the movie is. We gotta look up.
Right here? What is the representative of philosophy?
Oh, phenomenology. That's it. Phenomenology. The fact that he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
His life.
He's lost his consciousness towards his life and
He's got
everything regarding that does not regard his work. He's kind of lost his self. He only cares about work.
It's like autopilot. Like if you ever seen the movie Click, he fast forwarded so much of the boring stuff, and then just somebody starts fast forwarding automatically, and it just you get that zombie of a person All they care about is work and nothing else. Just wake up, drink coffee, go to work, do the same stuff every morning.
I mean, I fall into that trance too. I mean, you get in that routine. You just do this, do this, do this, go to bed, do this, do this, do this, go to bed. It's just like same thing every day. Follow that routine. Like, it gets tough because like John showed, you feel like you can't do anything, so you just decide to kill yourself.
And he also had those two traumatic events. Like, daughter dies and his wife has died.
His wife died.
His wife died, then his daughter was taken away from him, and then his daughter died.
Yeah. So it's like a 3-hit wonder kind of thing. Like, yay, you got the big job, but then what do you do now?
You have nobody to celebrate with.
You have no one to celebrate. And they showed him in the bar drinking alone. Yeah. And it's just like
passes up on the sidewalk after.
Yeah, and probably no one picked him up. Police probably picked him up, whatever.
Probably lost his job after that too.
Yeah. And what does he have then?
Nothing.
He's lost everything.
Yeah, like he's just losing everything. Feels like there's no way out to feel like it'll get better at any point. So he just decides to kill himself. Like, I think that's how your life can change so radically. These traumatic events changed him so much that he's like, I have no way out. I need to kill myself.
And then the other radical change from the radical change that drove him to kill himself is almost dying.
The kind of light flashing before your eyes.
Yeah, his car accident.
The dreamer just came, touched him, and they kind of dreamed that he was unconscious for a little bit of time while they picked up in the ambulance or whatever.
Yeah.
They were filming things with memories of his daughter.
Yeah, his light flashed before his eyes.
And we've all heard of that. It's just maybe that's what they do. They show him what it's like with his daughter. He seems so much happier.
There's no reason to fight.
And then the daughter, as he would grow up and realize his daughter's important, he starts being her reason to fight. Like, as soon as he touched her, she started waking up a little bit because in the dream world, he's actually fighting for his daughter now. He's realizing what the storyteller
is and what the girl he kidnapped actually meant to him, means to him.
Yeah, because they specifically picked the daughter.
Yeah, it's because that's like you kill your sibling, you pretty much shed your emotions. You have no reason for life anymore.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. I guess.
Time
I
travel.
would just rather not talk about it right now. Last night,
It's pretty sad. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. Well, moving on. What do you guys think the director's idea of the philosophy of the whole thing was? Do you have any ideas?
Well, it's like kind of the dream versus reality. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit ago. We didn't talk about the class. Is this everything a dream? Like in the Matrix kind of thing? Like, are we just dreaming that? It's not really the reality of life. And life could just be in a giant shell or cell and just like living our memories, growing and then just dying and giving things energy. We don't know because we don't know what's after death, really.
yeah, it's just a flow that happens. Everyone gets sucked in it.
Or something based on, because the whole reason why he looked this way he did, and then the Pathfinder, like you were talking earlier when we were discussing this, why he has his eyes closed is of shame. He can't see shame. The Pathfinder can't see shame. He judges everybody the same. Everybody is the same to him. Where, like everybody else, they can feel shame, they can feel doubt, they can feel everything that brings them down.
Right. And it's kind of like when they're fighting, he could tell, like, the Pathfinder can't tell why are they fighting. Like, he just knows they're fighting, so he can hear it, but he can't tell, like,
Who's good or
who's winning, who's losing, so he can't fight. He can't really fight. That's why he was the one that went to come report. So it's not like he could fight when he's flying. I mean, he just aimlessly throw punches.
I feel like he could still fight though. I mean, he could run.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, he could run and everything.
You can run between cars.
Yep.
What? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
He sees the flow of the world, and he could probably fight both sides, but he chooses not to because the fact that he finds both sides not good or bad.
They have reasons behind both sides.
They're both good or they're both bad. It's just he's just in the middle. He's like, okay, if we need this, we need to. He will help the incubuses if they will progress at a will evolve better or have a better outcome, or he'll help the dream or the storytellers if they have a better outcome. He doesn't choose because of like the storytellers are good or the incubuses are bad. He just chooses because of that's the better path for the world.
And also probably who asked them first, maybe. Because the storytellers maybe are the ones that asked them first, like, hey, can you help us save this girl? Right? Maybe the incubus told them, hey, would you help us protect this girl? We're trying to save her by killing her or whatever. Maybe, yeah, he could pick.
But change sides and everything.
Because at the beginning, I mean, he didn't really seem too enthused about helping the storytellers.
Just walk around the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Branch! Branch. He trips on the branch.
Yeah. But the storytellers, like, I think they're a big thing about the voice in the head saying, you know, this is good, keep going with it, go with it, do it, this is what they, like we were saying before the video, how they like good dreams, those are like your good dreams of the storytellers, showing everything, and then the incubi are kind of like the nightmares, they're telling you, hey, this is bad, but go for it, do it, you know, this is kind of like the, like if, I can't think of the name, but like telling you to go after something because you want it rather than it's good to have it.
But yeah, I can see that. Like they're trying to progress you. The incubuses are trying to progress you just as far as the storytellers are trying to progress you.
Right.
The incubuses are trying to say, okay, money, greed, good. Which, in a sense, it is good. It is good to have greed. It is good to have a little bit of money, hatred, everything. It is good in moderation. Same with the storytellers. It's good in the sense that, you know, you want it. It's good. It's happy. But if you just keep going for the storytellers, you'll just end up as a hippie living on the streets because everything just like, yeah, man, everything's good. Rather than, or if you end up just going to the incubuses, they're just, you become a $1 billion evil, zombie.
Yeah.
But if you stay in the middle, you're kind of just normal.
And he kind of got that in the beginning, like when his college years, he was probably okay, kind of mix of both. And then as he got a job, got a really good sale, and then got promoted, he kept going to the dark side kind of thing. Then as that traumatic event and he saved his daughter, he's kind of moving back towards the light side a little bit more, getting a little bit more balance in his life because of that experience he had. And so that probably changed him a lot.
Right.
The sense.
One thing I thought about is that this blonde haired dude with the black eyes, like no. Like the evil dude.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he was he didn't have a big part or anything, but his representation, I feel like that was like the devil or something. Like he was
Supernatural's demons every time they go dark. They get the black eyes. I'm like, well, we know he's a demon.
Yeah, like that. I feel like he was, you know, like
the leader.
Yeah, the leader, like the devil.
Yeah, he's the leader you never see, but all of a sudden when the time comes, he's there.
Exactly.
And he's telling them, no, we're taking her now, or we're not taking her now.
And he kills the
They just flash his eyes, and they just like wilt. It's like the devil pulling you down.
Yep. Like he was like the biggest of all evil, and then the whole time they're fighting, like on both sides, like in the dream world, and then in the
almost now that I was thinking of it earlier, but the dream world is actually probably the future. You see him go through the time every so often, like at the beginning he's walking through all those scenes, but he couldn't enter that one. That was probably like a timeline he was walking through, and he's trying to get back to his timeline. And then he's like, well, I can't get in there, so he goes further in time and comes out another spot, and that's where they met up with the other lady, the storyteller.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that was the future, the mother,
or the daughter,
when the mother died, or the daughter, and then that's when they met up, and he had to go do the little trials to get the drum thing back, or whatever it was, to get
And then you see other people throughout there. You see the girl, the crazy, like with the dress. She's just all about beauty. She's just sees herself as beauty or whatever.
Yeah, she wants to take the storyteller's hair because she looked better than her. So she's like, I'm gonna make you not look as good. I'm gonna shave your head.
That's how Pathfinder means. Everyone else in the whole thing, like, they see everything and they're judgmental on everything because they see it and they interpret it different. That's why the Pathfinder,
everything's the same.
Yeah, everything's the same because he doesn't have to see everything and like everyone else, like, the way you're dressed, cut your hair, like, all she sees is beauty and or tries to see beauty, and if something's more beautiful than her, she makes it less beautiful, so it's
right.
Beautiful to her.
And I think her radical way of thinking actually was the turning point for him, because it was at that point where he stopped her from shaving her head. No, that's enough.
Yeah.
And she wanted to shave the whole head, and he goes, no, you're done.
Yeah.
And then he kind of like slowly, you could just see in his face, he started to change. And
And then when he finally went, rah, and they scared him, and he's like, they can be like scared, they can be defeated or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's my daughter, and then it's kind of had that flashback of when she'd been taken, and then I guess it kind of foreshadowed her.
Yeah,
she'd been taken because.
And then he goes back and fights for her.
The monster's gonna get.
Yeah. It ends up being he was the monster that was taking her. You know, foreshadowed. Like, so then and then he's the one that saves her.
Yeah. So it's really it's a battle against himself.
Yeah,
the whole thing. Yeah, the battle against himself.
Kind of moving backwards here to where we were at. I thought that like you could kind of say that John at one point in his life he's kind of like the way we talk about like the pig in the mud. He was kind of stuck there, and then it was like he realized like this isn't what I want. I don't want to be a pig in the mud. I want to be something else. But how do I get to that something else? Like it's the only way. For him, that's what he thought. So I mean, that's bringing back the class into the movie here. I think that's one of the ways to connect it, I would say.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest way to connect it right there, the pig in the mud.
Yes, anything else you'd like to say? Any closing thoughts?
The only thing I think is why at the point of the lady that sees beauty in herself is why he kind of started realizing that, because he hated himself because of his disfigured image. He hated his imagery, and then he saw how she acted, and he's like, that's just stupid. Why act like that? And then he's kind of confused. It's like, I think that way about myself, and she thinks that way, and I hate the way she thinks.
She's just showing it, like, she wants her beauty to be shown to the world, but he wants his ugliness to be hidden away.
And then
his ugliness is shame. Like, he wants to hide that from the world. He doesn't want to come out and admit that he was vulnerable and everything like that. He wants to hide it real. That's where he wears his cloak, and then when she rips it off, he just stops because someone has seen him, and he's embarrassed and he doesn't like it. So he puts the cloak back on. He hides again, and he lived his life in hiding after his wife and his daughter were taken him, and
and it showed his childhood too, and all the shame he saw as a child.
Yeah.
And he was bullied. Even as a child, he was. Like, to me, his child self almost looked still happier than he did as an adult. Even though he was bullied, he still looked kind of like uppity up.
Yeah.
But then you can still see that sadness in him. But he's still a child, and he probably still has the goodness in him that he can kind of come away from that.
Yeah, well, that's where it all started with his childhood. I mean, even though, he's a big, powerful, what seemed to be, like a CEO or a president or something, and everyone would think, oh, he'd be happy now. He wasn't happy at all. He didn't have true happiness. He had happiness in nothingness.
Yeah, I think that comes from, like we've been saying, like, he was belittled as a child, so he just felt like he was nothing to everybody in the world. His whole life, even as, like you said, like a president or CEO, he still feels like he's nothing. He had that drilled into him as a kid from the other kids. So, I mean, that kind of shows what kids think when they're in school and they're getting bullied. Like, that's what's happening.
And then also drove him to be better. Well, he tried to be better, and that's why he tried to get a better job, and showed him he needed to get better to prove to those kids. But he went overboard with it. He just went too far, and it became worse than it was.
Yeah. I think we're about wrapping it up here.
There's one quote that I remember. I don't know, it was like, sometimes the happiest people are the ones that need the most help. Like the saddest on the inside. They may show their happiness to the world, but it's like, it could be really sad on the inside or well.
What are they hiding behind that smile?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, like I said, the guy that took his life last night, he was one of the happiest people I knew. Just happy go lucky. And I mean, it's hard, but it's not hard at the same time because that's the second guy this year that gets that shot. It's like unheard of for the Guards. So
That's unheard of.
well, not unheard of, but for a small, I mean, there's 40 people in it.
Oh, is there?
So I mean, just the percentage that. I mean, the one guy was like everyone loved him. Everyone, not a person didn't like him.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, and then this guy last night, everyone's seen him yesterday. Didn't know significant.
Yeah, because you guys just had drill, didn't you?
Yeah, I drilled yesterday.
Yeah, I saw you in your
First actually about 1 o'clock, and then today during class, got a phone call and I didn't answer it because we were doing class. So then I got out of class and he told me, he left me a voice and said, call me back. And I said, okay, you call him. Okay.
So that's
Yeah, it's crazy, but I mean, it just shows you that happiness is not only just on the face.
you gotta have internal happiness.
Some people don't.
Nobody will ever know. Nobody will ever know if they choose that option.
Yeah.
All right.
Good talk.
Coming up next, Philosopher Profile.
Stay tuned for the next episode.